today's Shop Talk, we're going to share a few of the challenges that come up on every build and how we get through them.
This particular car, 58 Spider Veloce, is in the final stages of its build. This is where the unforeseen challenges come up. What I mean is you have your interior out at the upholstery shop, and that they notify you that the seat pans are completely rusted away and they need resolution. You have somebody like Herb here putting together the drivetrain. He's working on the spindles, the brakes, getting new shoes lined for it, and the unforeseen happens there, i.e. Nuts and bolts that are no longer of good enough quality to be on the car. These are the things that effectively affect the bottom line of the build. There's really no solid answer how that can be approached. But this is also why in the restoration world, when new customers come in and they want an estimate what it's going to take to restore the car, nobody can ever give you a good answer with any accuracy. And anybody who gives you a solid number is usually going to bid that project rather high. The reason they're doing that is because they have to protect their interests. Because if we get closer and closer to the finish line, if they're over what they bid, something has to be cut corners-wise to accommodate that loss of revenue. In our shop, we just effectively will not give an absolute number. We can't, because it's not fair to the customer and it's not fair to us. So how we approach our billing cycle, for example, is we bill based off the scope of work that's done within that week or that month, okay? And we cover it with a great deal of photos that we send our customers and make sure that they're very aware of what we've accomplished during that week. That is about the only way in the restoration world you'd possibly do this with any clarity and any fairness to one another involved in the build. So people tend to get uncomfortable when we can't give them a solid number, and in this series of videos we're going to cover a great deal of why that has become an issue. You'll see the incidentals that we have no control over and how we have to resolve them, and how those incidentals add up to an awful lot sometimes in some cases. This car, for example, when it came in, little of this car was held together. It was a very rusty car. It had significant damage to it. It is impossible to put a number to it. We're not building a motor where everything is essentially being pulled off the shelf and has a set price to it. We are fabricating parts. What kind of labor does that take? Sometimes it's impossible to answer that because you don't know what it's going to take to correct that. That adds up to an awful lot at the end of the day. So in the restoration world, if somebody is capable of giving you a solid number to restore a car, it's not a bad thing, but it's most likely going to be a very high number because, again, they have to protect their interests as well.
Okay, today we are in a very loud room. We're in what we call the machining room, where we make a lot of racket, so we have this room isolated off from everywhere else, as to not, make everybody else go deaf. Anyway, this is a bottom of the seat pan out of a 58 Spider Veloce. Very little of the seats left. This is not uncommon. In fact, I would say that a good portion of them out there probably have something similar to this and problems. What we've done, we've already made a template of the replacement pan. Okay, this is the breathing hole. This is the back breathing hole, so when you sit in the seat, the foam compresses, and this gives it somewhere to go. Okay. The line right here, squiggling through it, is what we're calling our brake line. We have relief cuts in the corners. We're going to plenish this out as to create this issue. This loud work. So let's get started. We started with an on B-roll to create the brake. Okay, so now on the B-roller, we're not going to make a huge impression still. We just need to start creating new memory in the metal. New memory means we're slightly stretching it, the metal retains that shape. So start with it just on the edge. Okay, forward motion, throttle on it. We're going to tension it up a little bit. And we're going. replenishing him. Very loud fact, I'm going to mute the camera because it's incredibly noisy. Wearing earbuds. We find that actual gun range earbuds are better than the cheap ones you can buy at some inexpensive tool store.
After the rust was cut away from the original seat pan, it was put into the blast cabinet as to provide a clean surface for our new pan bottom to be welded to.
Part of the reason that giving an accurate bid in restoration is difficult is the incidentals that pop up as the build progresses. Take, for example, these Julietta seat pans we received back from our upholsterer. They have a giant hole in them and they need the seat bottoms repaired. Now, for this particular car, the seat pans are $2,000 for a reproduction set. This car here, we're in the final stages of the build and we received this back, so we need to come up with a solution that's best for our customer, and that would be making the seat bottoms. Now, over here, we have our already completed repair for our passenger side. As you can see, it's patched with all the correct holes punched and flared for strength. And here I am working on the second repair panel. Same holes punched and flared. That will take care of the issues that we have. Now, about 24 hours to recreate these seat pans is going to be far cheaper than the reproductions. We received our seat pans back from our powder coater today. As you can see, they've got a nice hardy finish on them. And you can see here's the bottom that we've done our repair work to. Now, had we not had to repair these, they probably just would have been painted by the upholstery person and just reassembled. But now that we were able to powder coat them, and now they'll last forever.
Okay, so continuing with our theme of circumstances beyond our control. The seat pans we just got fixed and powder coated, we found out that one of the hinging bolts is actually broken. This is what it's supposed to look like. Ours, the stud is completely broken off. To be expected, really. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to take a matching thread bolt, we're going to machine it down on the lathe and replicate this piece and attach it to the original crown. We'll show you how that's done in a minute. Okay, so we've drilled out our old stud and we pressed in a bolt. Now Johnny's going to weld the base of that bolt so it stays secured. Then we'll take it back to the lathe and we'll turn down some of the weld. And at that point, all we have to do is cut off the excess thread and it's ready to go to the seat pan. Here's the thing. Try to get close in on this. Here's the thing. If you put a nut on the thread prior to doing all this, once you cut that thread off, this nut, when you back it out, will realign the last thread and make it a piece of cake. It might appear to be a little labor intensive just to make that one bolt for the seat pan, but in reality, it only took about 10 to 15 minutes to make it. Hopefully today's seat pan repair gives you a little more insight of how challenging the restoration world can be. I'm Darren Walker of Vintage Customs, and this is the end of today's Chop Talk.